What's up, Fintech homies? Back again for another deep dive.
Always a pleasure.
This time, we're going to tackle The Simple Path to Wealth by J.L. Collins.
Oh, yeah, a classic.
It's been making waves, and for good reason.
Definitely. Collins really gets those fundamentals down in a way that anyone can grasp. Simple, like the title says.
Exactly. But don't be fooled, there's some serious depth in here, especially when he starts challenging the usual financial advice.
Oh, absolutely. One thing that hit me was how Collins reframes what wealth even is. It's not just about that bank account balance.
Right, it's about FU money. Gotta love that term.
Catchy, right. But it gets at the heart of it. Financial freedom. Having enough that your choices are about your values, not just necessity.
Okay, so let's break down FU money a bit. You said it's more than just being rich, but what does it look like in real life?
Imagine walking away from a job you hate, even if the pay is worse. Or starting your own business without that constant money worry. Collins even talks about using it to negotiate better terms at work, or to be a stay-at-home parent.
Totally. That's what we're always talking about on Fintech Homies. Control your finances, design the life you want. It's not the money itself, it's what it lets you do.
Exactly. And one big roadblock to that freedom, Collins says, is debt.
He's not shy about that, keeps coming back to it, even calls it the wealth killer.
And he doesn't just mean credit cards. He's skeptical of all kinds of debt, even the good kind, like mortgages.
That seems extreme, especially these days when most people have some debt for a house, college. Why is he so against even the responsible kind?
His argument is any debt, it ties you to the system, even when the system doesn't work for you. Got to prioritize earning to pay it off so you can't take risks, follow your passions, or even just enjoy life as much.
So it's not just the money burden, but the mental and emotional weight, too.
Exactly. Huge chunk of income going towards debt. How much mental space is left for your dreams? It can feel like you're always behind, which is the opposite of financial freedom.
Powerful way to look at it. Not just numbers, but how debt affects your mindset, your choices. And Collins has some scary stats to back this up about total debt in the U.S., right?
Oh, yeah. Trillions of dollars in mortgages, student loans, consumer debt. It's a wake-up call. Shows how debt really blocks wealth building.
So if debt is the enemy, what's the antidote? How do we break free and build real wealth?
One word. Index funds.
Index funds.
Yeah.
Always a favorite in personal finance. We've talked about them before, but Collins goes deep into why they work, doesn't he?
He calls them the secret weapon for a reason. Simple, low-cost way to ride the market's growth over time. No chasing hot stocks, no timing the market, just steady growth.
And a big part of his argument is the self-cleansing market. Can you explain that? Some newbies might be tuning in.
It's pretty intuitive. Think of the market like an ecosystem, companies competing. Some do great, some fail. Self-cleansing means the weak ones get replaced by strong ones, naturally.
Like natural selection for businesses.
Exactly. That constant change is what drives market growth. And index funds are perfect for this because they track the whole market, not picking winners and losers.
Which is why Collins is against trying to time the market or pick individual stocks. Not a winning strategy in the long run.
Right, and he brings in behavioral economics to explain why. Our psychology works against us. Our emotions, especially fear and greed, make us do impulsive things.
Reminds me of our episode on behavioral finance. Those biases mess with our judgment. We buy high, sell low, the opposite of what we should do.
Exactly. Collins says index funds take us off that roller coaster. We're not guessing what'll go up or down, just riding the overall growth.
That's powerful. And he even uses himself as an example. Wasn't always into index funds.
Talks about his own resistance early on, makes him relatable, took him really digging into the research to become a believer.
Okay, sold on index funds.
Right.
But I got to ask about that beer and foam analogy he uses for short-term versus long-term growth.
Oh yeah, that's a classic. Imagine a beer. The beer itself is the true value of companies creating goods and services. The foam on top, that's the short-term market swings. Dramatic, but not the real value.
So focus on the beer, not the foam.
Exactly. Too many investors chase the foam, timing their entry and exit based on those short-term moves. But long-term, it's the beer, the steady growth. Index funds let you invest in that beer, no foam distraction.
Love that analogy. Makes a complex thing so clear. And speaking of challenging the norm, he goes after dollar cost averaging too, right? Which most people see as safe and steady.
He does, and his take might surprise some. Says dollar cost averaging, while seemingly safe, can actually hurt you if the market's going UP.
Wait, really? Thought it was supposed to be good. Why is he against it?
Well, it's investing the same amount regularly, regardless of market conditions, averages out your price, reduces risk of buying at the peak. But Collins says if the market's trending UP, lump sum upfront is better.
So it's about being strategic with timing, not just
Mhm.
blindly investing the same every month.
Exactly. Dollar cost averaging can be useful sometimes, but not always the best.
Interesting. He makes us really think about these rules everyone takes for granted.
Totally. Be informed, not just blindly follow advice.
Okay, lots covered. FU, money, debt dangers, index fund power. But let's get practical. How does Collins actually suggest building a portfolio with these ideas? What does a simple path portfolio look like?
He keeps it simple, just two index funds, VTSAX for stocks and VBTLX for bonds.
Two funds, that's it.
Ah,
That's pretty simple. How do you decide how much in each?
that's where your own risk tolerance and time horizon matter. He has different structures for different life stages, wealth accumulation and wealth preservation.
I'm guessing accumulation is when you're still building.
Exactly. While working and saving for retirement, more in stocks, like 90% or even 100% VTSAX. Stocks are volatile short term, but better returns long term, so your money grows faster.
And what about preservation? When does that come in?
That's closer to or in retirement, where keeping your money safe and getting income is more important. More balanced, maybe 60% VBTLX, 40% VTSAX, or even more conservative, depends on your risk tolerance. Less volatility, steadier income.
So adjust based on where you are in life, what your goals are. Makes sense. What about those who want even simpler? He mentions target retirement funds, right?
Yep. Those are set it and forget it. Premixed, they automatically adjust as you near retirement, going from stock heavy to bond heavy.
Good for those who don't want to manage too much, or those just starting out wanting an easy solution.
Absolutely. Aligns with Collins' whole philosophy. Keep it simple, accessible.
All right, portfolio set up, money growing. But what about when it's time to UAC those funds in retirement? How much can we withdraw safely?
That's where the 4% rule comes in, which we've discussed before.
Right, you can safely take out 4% per year based on history, but Collins probably has some nuances to add.
He does. Says it's a guideline, not a rule set in stone. Got to be flexible, adjust based on how the market's doing and your own needs.
So not blindly taking 4% no matter what.
Nope. Following any rule blindly without thinking about your situation can be risky.
Okay, flexibility is key. Any specific strategies he likes?
He does. Start with taxable accounts, then tax-advantaged ones like 401ks and IRAs, and lastly, those required minimum distributions, RMDs.
All about minimizing taxes, I bet.
You got it. Strategic withdrawals to keep more of your money.
So we've covered a lot, FU, money, debt, index funds, but one big retirement piece is missing, Social Security. What's Collins' take?
That's where things get interesting. He says, plan as if Social Security won't exist.
Whoa, bold statement. Is he saying it's going away completely?
He knows it's complex, with
Wow.
challenges like the aging population and possible benefit cuts. Doesn't think it'll vanish overnight, but it might not be as reliable as people think.
So be prepared for the worst case.
Exactly. Relying too much on it could leave you vulnerable, especially if benefits shrink or rules change. Build your own solid base so you're not dependent on a system that might not be so secure. Taking control, not relying solely on Social Security. It's a thought-provoking perspective. Fits his whole message of self-reliance.
Absolutely. He's not saying ignore it completely. If you've paid in, take the benefits you're owed. But don't count on it as your main income. Build your own safety net, and if Social Security is there, treat it as a bonus.
That makes sense. And what's interesting is, amidst all this financial talk, Collins brings in charitable giving.
Yeah. It's this unexpected but nice thread throughout the book. True wealth isn't just about having money, it's about using it to do good.
And he has that touching story, donating a fancy dinner to his daughter's teachers, showing how giving back creates ripples of good.
A great example of how small acts of kindness matter. It's not about showing off, it's about living your values, using what you have to make a difference.
Beautiful reminder that true wealth goes beyond the numbers. It's about connections, impact, legacy.
Exactly. And it fits what we always say on Fintech Homies. Align your finances with your values, not just chase profits. Okay, that wraps up part 1 of our dive into the simple path to wealth. FU money, index funds, retirement planning without relying on Social Security.
Lots to unpack.
Stick around for part 2, where we'll go even deeper into Collins' insights on building a portfolio, managing money, and finding true wealth beyond just dollars and cents.
Always more to learn.
Be right back after a quick break.
One thing that really struck me reading this book is how much Collins focuses on the mental side of investing.
Yeah, he really gets into the psychology, doesn't he? It's not just the strategy, but having the discipline to stick with it.
Totally. Way harder than it sounds, especially when the market throws you a curveball. Collins talks about how our brains are just wired to react emotionally, like those knee-jerk decisions that totally wreck your long-term goals.
Like we're hardwired for fight or flight, even with our money.
Exactly. And in investing, that usually means panic selling at the worst possible time. Collins says we got to train ourselves to think more rationally, zoom out, remember downturns are normal.
He even uses his own experience in the '87 crash as a warning, right?
Yeah, he felt that gut-wrenching fear as everything plummeted, but forced himself to stay calm, ride it out. New selling then would just lock in losses, miss the recovery.
Powerful example of how emotions can mess us up. Investing is as much about managing your mind as your money.
Totally. And that connects to what we talked about, mindfulness and money.
Yeah.
Knowing your triggers, being patient, thinking long-term, essential for those market ups and downs.
For sure. Now, back to debt for a sec. We touched on it, but Colin spends a lot of time on the dangers. Strong language, even.
Doesn't hold back, does he? Calls it a prison, slavery. Might sound extreme, but shows how seriously he takes it.
Provocative for sure. But I get it. He's driving home that debt limits you financially and emotionally. Holds you back from your goals, the life you want.
Right, and not just credit card debt. He questions even good debt, mortgages, student loans.
That's where some people might disagree, right? Saying all debt is bad, even for education or a home.
Yeah, I can see that. But his point is worth thinking about. Even responsible debt reduces your choices, creates this feeling of obligation that's hard to shake.
Basically, debt, no matter the type, takes away freedom, flexibility, ties you to a job you might hate, stops you taking risks that could make you happier.
Exactly. Got to understand the trade-offs, make conscious choices about how you handle your finances. Like we always say on Fintech Homies, control your money before it controls you.
Absolutely. Now, zoom back out to wealth building. We know Collins loves index funds, but walk us through WHY again. What makes them so good for building wealth?
Few key reasons. First, they give you broad exposure to the market at low cost. Tracking an index like the S&P 500 means you're instantly diversified, owning a piece of tons of companies.
Not putting all your eggs in one basket. That's huge.
Huge. Second, they're super cost effective. Passively managed, just tracking the index, so fees are way lower than those actively managed funds where guys are constantly buying and selling trying to beat the market.
And as we've learned, those fees eat your returns over time. Lower fees, more money for you long term.
Exactly. And third, Collins says index funds are tough, even when the market's down. Uses that self-cleansing analogy again.
Right, survival of the fittest for companies. But how does that help index funds?
Because they track the whole ever market, as weak companies fade, strong ones take their place. The index constantly updates. You're always invested in the best position for growth.
So the index fund itself is always changing, adapting.
Exactly. That's why Collins believes in them for capturing that long-term upward trend.
Fits his whole philosophy. Simple, consistent. You don't need to be a genius, no stock picking. Just invest in the market and let it do its thing.
And he's got data to back it up, studies showing index funds win over actively managed ones long-term. Past performance isn't everything, but it's convincing.
Okay, index funds it is. But getting specific, Collins likes two Vanguard funds. VTSAX for stocks, VBTLX for bonds. Why those?
Vanguard is known for low fees, being investor-friendly. VTSAX, the total stock market fund, gets you the whole U.S. market. VBTLX, total bond market, gives you a good mix of bonds. Together, solid base for a well-rounded portfolio.
And we talked before about diversifying. Stocks and bonds usually move opposite, so having both smooths out your returns.
Yep. It's finding that balance between risk and return that works for your goals and how much risk you can handle.
Got our VTSAX, our VBTLX? Good. Well, not quite. Collins also talks about target retirement funds for a hands-off approach.
Yeah.
How do those work again?
Those are like all-in-one portfolios, easy retirement investing. They automatically adjust as you get closer to retiring, going from mostly stocks to more bonds.
So you pick one with a date that matches your retirement plan, and they handle the rest.
Exactly. Great for those who don't want to mess around with it too much or just starting out needing a simple solution.
Okay, portfolio basics covered. Now, Collins' take on the 4% rule for withdrawals in retirement.
Ah, the 4% rule. Historically, you can take out 4% per year and not run out of money. But Collins emphasizes it's a guide-y, not a rigid rule.
He's big on flexibility, right? Adjust based on the market and your life.
Absolutely. Not just blindly following a number. And remember, It's based on the past, which isn't a guarantee for the future.
So be informed, know the limits of any rule of thumb, be ready to adjust.
Exactly. And beyond the 4% itself, Collins has strategies for minimizing taxes on those withdrawals.
Oh yeah, starting with taxable accounts, then tax advantage, then RMDs. Being smart about it.
Right, making the most of your savings. And it all ties back to a big theme, self-reliance. Collins wants you to own your financial future, be proactive, understand the details so you make good decisions.
Empowering yourself to be in charge of your own money.
Precisely. And that leads to a topic close to Collins's heart, charitable giving.
I was wondering when we get to this. Unexpected but cool theme throughout the book. True wealth isn't just piling up money, it's using it to do good.
He believes giving back is part of a good life, encourages readers to make it part of their plans.
And he doesn't just talk, he acts. That story about the dinner for his daughter's teachers shows how giving creates ripples.
Great example. Small acts can make a difference. Not about showing off, it's aligning your actions with your values, using what you have to help.
Reminds me of our episode on impact investing. Finding ways to invest that match your values, making the world better.
Absolutely. Your money choices can have an impact far beyond your own portfolio.
Okay, explored index funds, retirement nuances, even generosity. But one big thing's left. Social Security.
Ah, yes. Collins has a different approach here. Plan as if it won't be there.
Wait, so no Social Security in our plans?
He knows it's complicated, got problems like the aging population, possible cuts to benefits, not trying to scare people, but wants us to be self-reliant about retirement.
Don't put all your eggs in that basket, especially if it might not be so secure.
Exactly. He's not saying ignore it completely if you've paid in, take what you're owed, but build your own WN base so it's a supplement, not your main income source.
Makes sense. Don't depend on a system that could change. Control your own future. It's powerful, fits his whole idea of taking responsibility, being empowered.
And that self-reliance idea extends to how he sees the financial industry. Healthy skepticism about advisors says they often have conflicts of interest.
This is where he's really a contrarian, right? Challenges the norm, even big institutions.
He wants people to learn about finance themselves, consider DIY investing. With the right knowledge, anyone can be competent.
Such an empowering message. Take charge, don't blindly trust someone else, even if they seem like an expert. Aligns with Fintech homies completely. Demystifying finance, giving people tools to make smart choices.
Totally. Making financial knowledge available to everyone. And one thing that makes Collins was great, he doesn't just talk, he gives you a clear path to actually do it.
Right. Walks you through building a portfolio, managing money, planning for retirement. Easy to understand, easy to do. No jargon, no crazy math. Simple and straightforward, like the title.
And that simplicity is its strength. Cuts through the noise, the complexity, gets to what truly matters. Building wealth that matches your values lets you live a good life.
Perfect lead into our next part. We've laid the groundwork, explored Collins' ideas, now it's time to get practical.
Yeah.
Part 3, we dive into specific ways to use the simple path to wealth in your own life. Budgeting, saving, investing, creating a plan that fits you.
And as always, Fintech homies, do your own research, tailor it to your situation. We'll be right back.
All right, Fintech homies, welcome back for part 3 of our Simple Path to Wealth deep dive.
We've gone through a lot. FU money, index funds, the mental game. Now let's get into how to actually use this stuff in your life.
Right, knowledge is only good if you do something with it.
Exactly. Got to start with the foundation of any good plan, budgeting. Not the most fun, but Colin says it's key why to control your money, set yourself up for success.
He likes to keep it simple, and budgeting is where people go overboard, right? Spreadsheets, tracking every dime. Collins is more relaxed about it, isn't he?
Yeah, he's more about the big picture. Where's the money coming from? Where's it going? Conscious spending, he calls it. Choosing how you use your money, not just mindlessly spending.
So not deprivation, but making sure your spending matches what you care about, your goals.
Exactly. Easy way to start is track your spending for a month or two, see the patterns. You might be surprised what you find.
I know I was. Way more eating out than I thought. Real eye-opener.
Those little habits add up, but once you see it, you can adjust, free up more to invest.
And speaking of, Collins is big on starting early, investing consistently.
Huge on that. Compound growth. Your money earns interest on end. The interest grows like crazy over time.
Right.
And the sooner you start, the more time it has to work its magic.
That example he gives, $130 a month, 40 years, could become over $1 million. Wild.
It shows small actions, over time, huge year results. It's the long game, not getting rich quick.
And that long view is crucial, especially when the market dips. Collins says, stay calm, ride it out.
Yep. Downturns are normal. Trying to time the market, you'll lose. Stay the course, the market will come back.
Having a good plan, diversified portfolio helps with that. Yeah.
Absolutely. Gives you confidence to handle the rough patches, knowing you're set up for the long haul.
Okay, budgeting, saving, investing.
Yeah.
What about Collins's take on retirement planning? Kind of unique, isn't it?
He says, plan as if Social Security doesn't exist. Bold statement, but he's not saying it'll disappear.
More like, be ready if it's not what you expect, right?
Right. Be prepared. Don't depend too much on a system that might change.
So be proactive, don't just hope for the best.
Exactly. That fits his whole self-reliance thing, being in control of your own financial future.
Love that. And another thing I like, he knows it's not just about the numbers. Finding meaning, purpose beyond just money.
Absolutely. He talks about generosity, using what you have to do good, and finding work you enjoy, living a life that matches your values.
Finding where your passions and your money meet. True wealth is more than just dollars. It's experiences, relationships, purpose.
Couldn't agree more. Great way to sum it up.
So, Fintech homies, there you have it, our deep dive into the simple path to wealth. Index funds, compound growth, retirement planning without betting on Social Security. We covered it all.
And how do you use these ideas? Budgeting, saving, investing, finding meaning beyond just getting rich.
If you enjoyed this deep dive, give the video a thumbs up. Subscribe for more great content on finance, business, investing, all that good stuff.
Keep learning, keep growing, keep building your simple path to wealth.